So based on that, people will come and vote. Members are elected to the provincial assembly. From them, amongst them, they will choose who should be the member to constituent assembly. Gandhi, one of the prominent leaders of the freedom movement as well as of Indian National Congress, was absent in the CA. As the constitution making body, it was presided over by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Hello everyone. Welcome to PW OnlyIAS. Hope you're all doing great today. So today we are going on with our second chapter of Indian Polity, which is making of the constitution. So in this chapter, basically, we are going to see the whole process that was involved. How did we start the constituent assembly? From there, how that idea evolved. Then how did the constitution come? Which are the major minor committees involved? All of that we are going to see here. All right. So without any further delay, and before we head on with our discussion, this is the Telegram channel where you can contact me. Any queries or doubts that you have with regard to polity or even with public administration, which is the optional that I teach, you may contact me here. All right, people. Any other queries, please put it up in the comment section also what you think of our classes and what further can we do to make it more interesting. So without any further delay, going to the demand for a constituent assembly. So how did this demand start? From where did this first idea come from? Who was the first person to say this? In that regard, if you see, 1934, the idea of constituent assembly for the first time was given by M.N. Roy. 1935, INC makes the demand for the first time. Then a little gap. 1938, Nehru said that we need a constituent assembly that is based on UAF, Universal Adult Franchise, to frame the constitution. Very next year, 1939, demand repeated by INC through a resolution. 1940, demand was accepted in principle by British in their August offer. 1942, Cripps Mission agreed through a draft proposal by a British government that a constitution will be framed after World War II. However, this was rejected by the Muslim League as they wanted what? Partition and two separate constituent assemblies. 1946, Cabinet Mission. Lord Pethick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander rejected two constituent assemblies, but some were which more or less satisfied the Muslim League. Because by then, there was this general idea that partition is inevitable. So 1934, M.N. Roy. 35, INC. 38, Nehru, based on Universal Adult Franchise. 39, Congress accepts. 1940, demand accepted in principle by the British through their August offer. 1942, Cripps Mission, where through a draft proposals were made by the British government, basically saying that a constitution will be adopted after World War II. This was rejected by the Muslim League because they wanted two separate constituent assemblies, two separate countries. 1946, the Cabinet Mission. Pethick Lawrence, Cripps and A.V. Alexander. Three people involved. Somewhere they rejected two constituent assemblies, but it somehow satisfied the Muslim League. Taking it further forward, November 1946, CA was constituted. Moving on, composition of the Constituent Assembly. So what numbers, who and all were there? Let us see that. 398 was the total strength. In that, 296 seats belong to British India. That means those areas directly administered by the British. 292 out of 296 were under 11 governors' provinces that consisted of Madras, Bombay, Bihar, Central Provinces, Orissa, Punjab, Northwestern Provinces, Sindh, Bengal and Assam. And one each in 4 Chief Commissioners' provinces, which consisted of Delhi, Ajmer, Merwara, Coorg and British Baluchistan. Alright, I know remembering those 11 can be slightly difficult, but try to remember these 4. Alright, these 4 you please try to remember. So 296 over, 292 under 11 governors provinces, 4 Chief Commissioners province, 292 plus 4, 296. 93 seats reserved for princely states. Each province and princely state were to be allocated seats proportional to what? Their population. Same thing for British India. But British India, we know, they are very famous for what? Dividing us. So there, seats were arranged for Muslims, Sikhs, and the general population proportional to their numbers. Representatives to be elected by members of that community by means of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. It is the second type of voting system. The first being first past the post system, which we'll be seeing in our subsequent chapters. Clear, people? So that we'll take it up over there. So let us keep that on hold for now. Because as of now, our entire focus is on constitutions making and the constituent assembly. Moving on. Representatives of princely states were to be nominated by the princes. Therefore, constituent assembly was what type of a body? It was partly elected and partly nominated. Members were to be indirectly elected by the elected members of the provincial legislative assemblies. We know in our earlier chapter, Government of India Act 1935 basically gave provincial autonomy, and voting rights were given to people based on tax, property, and other qualifications. So based on that, people will come and vote. Members are elected to the provincial assembly. From them, amongst them, they will choose who should be the member to constituent assembly. Members to be indirectly elected by members of the provincial legislative councils, assemblies, who were elected on a limited franchise. Government of India 1935, tax, property, and other qualifications. July-August 1946, elections were conducted in 296 seats in British India. Indian National Congress won 208, Muslim League 73. Small groups and independents, other independent candidates, etc., won around 15. Princes did not even take part. They did not even, those seats remained unfilled. Means what? No nomination was given by the princes. Why will they give the nomination? They were unhappy, right? Because they knew they are going to lose their king's powers. CA had representatives from all sections of society: Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Parsi, all in Anglo-Indians. CA, that is Constituent Assembly, had representatives from all sections of society: Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, Parsis, Anglo-Indians, Indian Christians, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and women. Gandhi, one of the prominent leaders of the freedom movement as well as of Indian National Congress, was absent in the CA. All right. Working of the Constituent Assembly. December 9, 1946. First meeting of CA. Muslim League boycotted and insisted on Pakistan. December 9. Therefore, only 207 members were there. Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, the oldest member of CA, was made the temporary chairman following a French practice. When? December 9, 1946. December 11, 1946, the first permanent chairman, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, just after 2 days. Then, first vice president was chosen on January 25, 1947, who? H.C. Mukherjee. The second vice president came in on July 16, 1947, that is V.T. Krishnamachari. With the initial chapters, one of the very big headaches is you will keep coming across a lot of names. What to do? Nothing to do. Keep reading it again. Keep listening to those names again. So that at least when you get a question in the paper, you know what to eliminate. Understand, prelims is nothing but an identification parade. You identify either the right answer or you eliminate the wrong ones. Repeatedly watch this video or repeatedly listen to this through audio while you're reading your notes. That way you will be able to choose either the right option or eliminate the wrong answers. Clear, people? Moving on. Objectives resolution. So objectives resolutions was actually passed by Nehru. 13 December 1946, Nehru moved the objectives resolution. 9th December, Sachidananda Sinha. 11th December, Rajendra Prasad. 13th December, Nehru's objective resolution. 9, 11, 13, all in the same year, same month, December 1946. Independent sovereign republic and to have a constitution, Union of India, power and authority derived from people, justice, social, economic and political, equality of status of opportunity and before the law, freedom of thought, expression, faith, belief, worship, vocation, association and action, subject to law and public morality, safeguards for minorities, backward and tribal areas, depressed and other backward classes. If you actually look at it, these are some of the major provisions available in our constitution. Our objective resolution also had an impact on the constitution that was being made. Clear? So there we will get to see all of this again. This is just a synopsis. All right, we need not break our head over here right now. Understand it. Just go through it. All right. Taking it further forward. Integrity of the territory of the republic, sovereign rights on land, sea and air according to justice and law of civilized nations. This ancient land attains its rightful and honored place in the world and makes its full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind. Nehru being Nehru, a man who always liked to use very fancy words. So his objective resolution also, when you see, you can clearly see those fancy, it's filled with fancy Victorian English. And rich in literature in that sense. But don't worry. January 22, 1947, resolution adopted unanimously by the Constituent Assembly. So he gave this objective resolution. The gist of it, I have given it here. Why am I not wasting time in elaborating it is, it will come again. Don't worry. All right. Quickly, I will just tell you the gist. That is, it should be it is a Union of India. Power and authority is derived from the people. If you look at our preamble, we the people of India. Justice, to ensure justice of what type of justice? Social, economic and political justice. Equality of status of opportunity and before the law. This is again, all these you will see in the preamble. Freedom of thought, expression, faith, belief, worship, vocation, association and action subject to law and public morality. Safeguards for minority, backward and tribal area, depressed and other backward classes. You can see its influence in DPSP. Integrity of the territory of the republic, sovereign rights, land, sea and air. You can see it in the preamble as well as in our DPSP. That's about it. Clear? Changes by the Independence Act. Let us see that also now. April 20th, 1947, representatives of 6 princely states joined the Constituent Assembly. They are Baroda, Bikaner, Jaipur, Patiala, Rewa and Udaipur. June 3rd, 1947, acceptance of the Mountbatten Plan. Other states also joined. That means other princely states. Members of the Muslim League also joined. Indian Independence Act of 1947 made 3 changes. Assembly made sovereign that could frame constitution, abrogate or repeal acts made by the British Parliament for India. Means what? Assembly was made a completely independent body that was supposed to frame the constitution. That is, assembly means Constituent Assembly that could frame the constitution of India, and they could make any changes to any British law that was prevalent at that point of time in the country. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the chairman. Assembly first Parliament of Free India. What does this mean? Assembly first Parliament of Free India. It simply means the Constituent Assembly also functioned as a lawmaking body. That means 2 functions it had. One, make the constitution. The other, make laws. Getting the point? So it also functioned as a parliament. And here, G.V. Mavlankar was elected as the speaker. So whenever the body met, so it's the same body. So whenever CA met for what? As a constitution making body, it was presided over by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Whenever it met as a parliament, it was presided over by G.V. Mavlankar. The above 2 functions continued till 26 November 1949. That is, it worked both as a parliament and as a constituent assembly. Taking it further forward, Muslim League members withdrew from CA. Strength dropped to 299 out of 389 following the cabinet mission. Strength dropped because Muslim League broke out of it. British provinces from 296 to 229. Princely states also dropped from 93 to 70. Why? separate nation. Because there was that provision again, princely states are free to join either India or Pakistan, or if they want, they can stay independent also. That point of time, that provision was there. Clear? Other functions performed. So let us see what it is. July 22, 1947, national flag was adopted. May 1949, CA, Constituent Assembly, ratified the membership of Commonwealth. What is this Commonwealth? British Commonwealth nations it is called. That is, these nations are basically those countries which at one point of time were under the British crown. So once they became independent, they all came together and came to be known as British Commonwealth nations. Now you must understand here, India was a member. That didn't mean that India was under the British or something. Getting the point? India was only a member there. But India was completely sovereign and a republic also. It need not listen to the British king or anything. January 24, 1950, national anthem, national song, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad elected as first president, and this was the final session of the Constituent Assembly. So 1947, national flag. 1949, Commonwealth membership. Jan 24, 1950, national anthem, national song, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, first president, as well as final session of the Constituent Assembly. In all, Constituent Assembly had 11 sessions, took 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days to frame the Constitution. We almost ransacked Constitution of 60 countries. Were taken up, all important points were taken up, and then we made our Constitution. Draft Constitution was considered for 114 days. Total expenditure was rupees 64 lakh. First general elections were conducted in 1951-52. July 22, 1947, national flag. May 1949, ratification of membership of Commonwealth. January 24, 1950, national anthem, national song, Rajendra Prasad as president, final session of Constituent Assembly. 11 sessions, 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. Constitution of 60 countries. Draft Constitution was considered for a period of 114 days. 64 lakh was the expenditure. First general elections were conducted in 1951-52. Committees of the Constituent Assembly. So, what committees were there? See, it is not that Constituent Assembly, all the members will sit together and they'll start fighting. Okay, I want this, you want that. No, I won't allow this. No. There was proper division of work, proper division of labor. So, let us see. Major committees. Union Powers Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Constitution Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru again. Provincial, Sardar Patel. Drafting Committee, B.R. Ambedkar. Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities, Tribal and Excluded Areas, Sardar Patel. Rules of Procedure Committee, Rajendra Prasad. States Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. Steering Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So majorly if you look at it, it is Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and then you have B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, other committees we will see. First these things. So powers and constitution, Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Committee, Sardar Patel. Drafting Committee, B.R. Ambedkar. Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities, Tribal and Excluded Areas, Sardar Patel again. Rules of Procedure Committee, Rajendra Prasad. States Committee, Committee for Negotiating with States, Jawaharlal Nehru. Steering Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Taking it further forward, Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal and Excluded Areas. Fundamental Rights Subcommittee, J.B. Kripalani. Minority Subcommittee, H.C. Mukherjee. Where have we heard this name? First, Vice President. Let us just quickly take a recap of that. Getting the picture here? This is the way you are supposed to be studying polity. You see a familiar name, you see a familiar provision, immediately go back. That way you will have it memorized. Getting the point here? So H.C. Mukherjee, first Vice President. In addition to that, now what are we seeing? Minority Subcommittee, H.C. Mukherjee. Northeast Frontier Tribal Areas and Assam Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Gopinath Bardoloi. Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas other than those in Assam, A.V. Thakkar. Northwest Frontier Tribal Area Subcommittee members were Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Khan Abdul Samad Khan, and Meher Chand Khanna. Everywhere else, we are basically talking about who was the chairman, who was the one who was heading it. Here we have only the members. Why? We don't have the details of who actually was the chairman of this committee. So the members, we are taking it down. So here if you see what is the problem, none of the names are repeated. So read it again. Fundamental Rights Subcommittee, J.B. Kripalani. Minority Subcommittee, H.C. Mukherjee. Northeast Frontier Tribal Areas, Assam Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Gopinath Bardoloi. Excluded and partially excluded areas other than those in Assam, A.V. Thakkar. Members of Northwest Frontier Tribal Area Subcommittee, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Khan Abdul Samad Khan, and Meher Chand Khanna. Coming to the minor committees. Finance and Staff Committee, Rajendra Prasad. Credentials Committee, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. House Committee, B. Pattabi Sidaramaya. Order of Business Committee, Dr. K.M. Munshi. Ad hoc Committee on the National Flag, Dr. Rajendra Prasad again. Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly, G.V. Mavalankar. Ad hoc Committee on the Supreme Court, S. Varadachari, not an assembly member. Committee on Chief Commissioners Provinces, B. Pattabi Sidaramaya. So you can clearly see some names are getting repeated. So Finance and Staff Committee, Rajendra Prasad. Credentials Committee, Alladi Krishna Swamy Iyer. House Committee, Pattabi Sidaramaya. Order of Business Committee, K.M. Munshi. Ad hoc Committee on National Flag, Rajendra Prasad again. Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly, G.V. Mavalankar. Mavalankar. Now where did we see that name? Assembly, the first Parliament of Free India, G.V. Mavalankar, Speaker. Clear? Taking it further forward. This is the way you study, people. This is the only way you're going to remember it. Ad hoc Committee on Supreme Court, S. Varadachari, who was not an assembly member. Committee on Chief Commissioners Province, Pattabi Sidaramaya. Expert Committee on the Financial Provisions of the Union Constitution, Nalini Ranjan Sarkar. We are coming across a female name for the first time, and she was also not an assembly member. Linguistic Provinces Commission, S.K. Dar, not an assembly member again, which we'll be seeing it in a while in our next chapters, S.K. Dar. Special Committee to Examine Draft Constitution, Jawaharlal Nehru. Press Gallery Committee, Usha Nath Sen. Ad hoc Committee on Citizenship, S. Varadachari, who is not an assembly member. So, Expert Committee on the Financial Provisions of the Union Constitution, Nalini Ranjan Sarkar. Linguistic Provinces Commission, S.K. Dar. Special Committee to Examine the Draft Constitution, Jawaharlal Nehru. Then, Press Gallery Committee, Usha Nath Sen. Ad hoc Committee on Citizenship, S. Varadachari. All right, moving on. Drafting Committee. Set up on 29th August 1947, there were 7 members to it, of which Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman. Then you had Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Dr. K.M. Munshi, Said Mohammad Sadullah, and Madhava Rao, who replaced B.L. Mitter because of his ill health. T.T. Krishnamachari replaced D.P. Khaitan, who died in 1948. The first draft was published in February 1948. 8 months were given to people to discuss the draft provisions of the Constitution. Second draft came in October 1948. 2 plus 8, 10 months. Clear? Drafting committee sat for 141 days. All right, people. This is the funda. I know there are names here which we have already gone through earlier. That I am going to give you as homework. Tell me in the comment section which are the names here that you didn't see in the major or minor committees. First point. That is the first question. They are not in any committees. Give me their names. In the comment section, please put it up. Then, whoever are there in this list, which committees did they head? Were they major or minor? Clear, people? Moving on. Enactment of the Constitution. November 4, 1948. Final draft was placed by Ambedkar. CA discussed it for 5 days. November 15, 1948 to October 17th, 1949. Don't get confused with this date. It is almost a year. November 15th, 1948 to October 17th, 1949. Second reading, 7,653 amendments were proposed, 2,473 were discussed. November 14, 1949, third reading. November 26, 1949, motion on draft constitution passed. 284 out of 299 people were actually present that day. That is why this date is important. What is the significance of the date? November 26th. Motion on draft constitution was passed. That is the significance of that date. Getting the point? The happy news is that this was the day on which we passed it. 284 out of 299 members were actually present on that day. It contained a preamble, 395 articles and 8 schedules. November 19, 2015, it was officially decided that November 26 will be celebrated as the Constitution Day. But yes, 26/11, on a normal basis, if you tell it to anybody, to an ordinary person, a common man, they will only remember it as what? The Black Day in Indian history, because we were terribly and brutally attacked by our neighbor in the most happening city of our country, that is Mumbai. All right, people, taking it further forward, enforcement of the Constitution. Articles that came into force on November 26, 1949 dealt with citizenship, elections, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, and short title. Citizenship, election, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, short title. 5 things. Articles associated with it, I have mentioned it here. Not so important, because specific articles being asked is very rare. All right. And it is scattered also in all this. It is not that 5 things are only there. Citizenship, elections, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, then short title. But for that, these many articles are there. So ideally, whatever is too much in number, too difficult to even make a cross link or establish a link, skip it. Because I will tell you the reason also. Even if you manage to match it up, how much time are you going to put in it? What is the effort required? How many revisions will be required to remember all this? In UPSC, always you need to remember one thing, cost-benefit ratio. What is the chance that you will get a specific question asking which article is linked to what? Maybe 1. For 1 2-marker, how much effort are you going to put? Getting the point here. Moving on. Major part of the Constitution was adopted when? On Jan 26, 1950, which is celebrated as the Republic Day. It has a historical impact. So, the temporary, etc., November 26, 1949, we adopted it. January 26, 1950, the remaining portion of the Constitution was finalized. Why January 26th we chose? Because 1930, we made the declaration of Purna Swaraj, was declared on or celebrated on that day. And the decision for it was taken in 1929 December INC session, Lahore. Getting the point? Purna Swaraj, we decided that we are going to celebrate Purna Swaraj as our ideal goal on January 26, 1930. Decision for it was taken in the Lahore INC session in December 1929. With the commencement of the Constitution, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 and the Government of India Act of 1935, with all enactments amending or supplementing the latter act, was repealed. Complicated sentence. What does it mean? Simply means changes were made to the Government of India Act of 1935. Whatever points we wanted from it, we adopted it in our Constitution, we adopted it in our Indian Independence Act. The rest of it, whatever we wanted, either we changed it, whatever we wanted, we took it, We repealed it, amended it, and Government of India Act 1935 became part of history. Indian Independence Act 1947 came into picture. The abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act 1949 was, however, continued. So, abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act 1949 was, however, continued. So, that was a very old act with regarding to certain laws, whether it should be repealed, whether it should continue. With regard to that, a decision had to be made whether the British Crown need to be involved in it or whether the powers should be transferred to the federal court, all those things. I'm not going into the detail of it because it is the act itself. If you try to get into it, it is too complicated and complex. As of now, we just need to understand it just continued. Clear, people? Moving further, Experts Committee of the Congress. July 8, 1946, to prepare material for the Constituent Assembly to help them, Congress decided to form an expert committee, where again, no surprises, Jawaharlal Nehru was the chairman, M. Asaf Ali, K. M. Munshi, N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar, K. T. Shah, D. R. Gadgil, Humayun Kabir, K. Santanam, Krishna Kripalani co-opted chairman's proposal and he was the convener. All right. Once again, the same task I'm going to give you who are part of major or minor committees in this Congress expert committee that was meant to provide material data for the Constituent Assembly. Then who are the ones who don't belong to any of the committees? Write it down in the comment section, please. First sitting was made from July 22 to 1946. Second, from August 15 to 16, 1946. Committee basically discussed what is the procedure to be adopted by the CA, question of the appointment of various committees, draft on a resolution on the objectives of the Constitution. What is the procedure? How to appoint various committees? Then the objectives of the Constitution. Basically assisting the CA. That is the purpose. Taking it further forward. Criticism of the Constituent Assembly. Now, outside it looks everything was great. British India had representatives. Princes had representatives. Why? Even Muslim League had representatives. But then there is a lot of criticism. Let us see one by one the reason for it. It was not a representative body because it was not directly elected based on universal adult franchise. True, it was partly elected and partly nominated. Not a sovereign body. Why? It is not considered as a sovereign body. That means an independent, completely independent body. Why? Because it was created by the proposals of British government. Sessions were held with permission of British government. Second problem. Third, it was considered to be very time consuming. American Constitution took 4 months. Naseeruddin Ahmed pointed it out and he basically called the drafting committee of the Constitution as the drifting committee. Drafting committee for which the chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Naseeruddin Ahmed made the statement because he was very frustrated with the fact that it is taking too much of time. It was dominated by only Congress, lawyer, politician domination. So we know this very clearly that initial lawmakers of our country, they were all coming from, most of them were coming from a legal background. And because of that, what is it? The language itself of our constitution is like very, very rich with legal terms and terminologies. That is also the reason why there is no two way of interpreting our constitution. It's very, very clear. Bulkiness and complicated language of the constitution dominated by Hindus. Lord Viscount Simon said a body of Hindus. Winston Churchill called only one major community in India. Getting the point here? See, it is not our fault that Muslim League left it. And Muslim League were hell-bent on the fact that they wanted a separate country. Again, led by Mr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, was so keen on getting a separate country. When he went on to make a statement also, I and my typewriter alone took Pakistan from India. He made that statement. All right, so somebody who made that statement, somebody who got Pakistan, it is ironical that he had a very sad and terrible death. All right, karma comes for everybody, people. Anyway, let us look into the important facts now. Again, no choice. You have to remember it. Elephant was the symbol or seal of the Constituent Assembly. That is easy. Sir B.N. Rao was the constitutional advisor or legal advisor to the Constituent Assembly. H.V.R. Iyengar was the secretary to the CA, that is Constituent Assembly. S.N. Mukherjee was the chief draftsman of the Constitution in the Constituent Assembly. Prem Bihari Narain Raizada was the calligrapher of English, what is written in English, and he gave the flowing italic style. Biohar Ram Manohar Sinha illuminated, beautified, and ornamented the original preamble prepared by Prem Bihari Narain Raizada, PBNR. Vasant Krishna Vaidya was responsible for Hindi calligraphy. Nandlal Bose decorated and illuminated it. Alright, people. Hindi text of the Constitution. Originally, it was not there. Like I told you, lawmakers, well versed in the Indian language, comfortable in the Indian language, they made it in English only largely. Added by the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987. Inserted Article 394A in the last part of the Constitution, Part 22. The President shall cause to be published translation of Constitution in Hindi language. All amendments incorporated translated before such publication. Any difficulty arises, President shall revise the Hindi text suitably. The translation and its very amendments shall be deemed to be authoritative text in Hindi. Means what? So originally, Hindi was never there. It was added only in 1987 through the 58th Constitutional Amendment. Should we remember constitutional amendments and their number, sir? You have to remember the number, you have to remember the year, plus you have to remember the purpose of it. Should we remember all the amendments? Nah, only the most important ones. Why? See, like I told you, identify the right answer, job is easy. Or at least we should be able to say, hey, this is not the number. This is not 58. 58 is with the Hindi language. That much you should know. Clear? President shall cause to be published translation of Constitution in the Hindi language. Whatever amendments have been incorporated till 1987, all of that will be added there. Any confusion arises, President will make it clear what is the exact meaning. Because what you write in English and what you translate it into Hindi, that sometimes certain issues may arise. President will give clarity to it. And this text what we are making through the 50th Constitutional Amendment will have all the authority of the Hindi translation. That is, you can refer it. When you have any doubt, you want to refer the Constitution in the Hindi language, you can refer this authoritative text. Finally, once again, we come to the end of the chapter. Any queries that you have, please go ahead, log into this channel. Any other issues you are facing, please put it up in the comment section and let us know how we can make things better for you. All right, people. So with that, we come to an end of our session. Hope you all had a wonderful time knowing this. Repeatedly watch it. Let the facts go into your head still so that it becomes clear. With UPSC, understand one thing, you need to constantly keep revising. Minimal reference, maximum revision. That is the only way of cracking this exam. And that rule holds true, especially for such heavy duty subjects. All right, people. God bless. Take care.